Well, good afternoon. Thanks for being here this afternoon. If you will, please turn off your phones or silence them. And as usual, we're requested to read the fire statement. In the event of fire alarm sounds, please remain in the auditorium and remain seated. Should there be a need to evaluate, a Springmore staff member will direct you on how to leave in an orderly fashion. Please remember to not use elevators, and when you get outside, find a red pole. So, it's outside. Okay. Are there any here who are here for your first resident association meeting? We have a roving mic. If you would stand and introduce yourself and tell us where you live.
My name's Rochelle Havert. I live on 3 West.
3 West. Welcome.
Thank you.
Who else?
Hey, we're Betsy and Larry Wilson, and we live in the Creedmoor Apartments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought I saw another hand over here somewhere.
Where? Is this your first time?
It is. Doug Leonard, 236 East.
Welcome.
Roberta Annette Smith, 351
Okay.
East.
Anyone
All
else?
right, thank you, and a big welcome to all of our newcomers. A couple of announcements. The Civil War Roundtable will be meeting here at Springmore on second Mondays for the foreseeable future. They've been displaced with the renovations at the History building downtown, and so they will be meeting here. If any of you are interested in that, they have a meeting tonight with refreshments at 6:30 and then a program at 7 o'clock. So it'll be here in this auditorium. Last week we had a lot of excitement in this room, more people than we have now for the yard sale, which was quite a success. And I would like to thank Elaine Gillespie for leading our effort in that for the sake of them. Elaine, where are you? Where's Elaine? Hiding back there. Thank you. Okay. Immediately following our program today, there will be a musical program in the Ammons Room with the Sawmill Road Quartet performing. So, Jim, I'll call on you for a program.
You want to do the officers first or something?
Let's do that first. Judy, nominating committee report for new officers for the Residents Association. Come up.
Good afternoon, everybody. I was the chairman of the nominating committee for our 2025 officers in the executive committee, and I want to present those names to you. For president, we have Jim Bundy. Vice president, Barbara Smith. Secretary, Peg Simone. Director, Judy Allen. Director, Tracy Hurley. Director, Joanne Wooten. And Director, Charlene Young. Is there anyone that would like to nominate somebody from the floor? No? Not just dying to do this? Okay. Help me with this, Alan. This part of it, where
Being no other nominations, announce that these are elected by acclamation.
okay, so You say it for me. You're more official than I am.
No, for this, the bylaws say that in the absence of any further nominations, that those who have been nominated by the nominating committee will be elected by acclamation. So I declare that that is the case. So congratulations to our new officers. And thanks to the nominating committee for its efforts. Now, Jim.
Thank you, Alan. And once again, I'm just blown away by this crowd we have here today. I mean, this is an overflow crowd, and I appreciate you coming out. I know it's an important topic that we're going to discuss, and I hope you are able to have all your questions answered before you leave this afternoon. We also hope there's a good group watching us on 1341. And again, thanks to Charlie Bryan for broadcasting it so that they can watch it in the apartments. Same house rules are going to apply today as have always been the case, and that is if we have some questions at the end and we ask you to hold all of your questions until the end of the presentations, then someone will bring you a mic and we will ask you to state your question into the microphone so it can be heard by everyone in the auditorium as well as those who are listening to it on 1341. This is the semi-annual business meeting, which would be discussing the 2025 budget. Brad Dilday, the Associate Director, will be leading off, and he will introduce the others who will be taking part in today's presentation. Brad?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Few housekeeping items to take care of. First thing, obviously, you got Brad today and not Brandon. Brandon, unfortunately, his father passed away over the weekend, and so he is still at home with family. So I'll be filling in for him today. I know he's, it's kind of been a long journey with his dad, so he's at peace now. And Brandon said, thanks for all the prayers, and he's felt the love from the whole community, so he's appreciative of everyone, and he will be back later this week. Also need to acknowledge that this meeting satisfies one of the requirement for one of our two semi-annual meetings between residents, management, and the board as a directive by the DOI. So we'll accomplish that today, and also want to recognize board members that we have here. I know Ms. Walton is here. I don't know if any others made it today. I know they all have busy schedules. And then I also wanted to recognize that this budget was put together with a lot of help from committees, in particular the MAC, but each department has its own committee that is a kind of a liaison and works with the management group to give input and help make decisions on where we're going to allocate funds and that kind of thing. So if there's anyone that's on any of the committees for our departments here at Springmore, if you'd stand right now and be recognized for your efforts, I'd appreciate that. I know there's some of you here. Yeah. Mr. Knight, stand up. Come on. There's a few of you here. So, yeah, I appreciate all your efforts. Thank you. And then also in particular, the MAC committee, the Management Advisory Committee, works directly with all the department heads and reviews the budget and gives their input as well. So if you're on that MAC, could you stand as well and be recognized? Mr. Fuller, thank you. Yeah, I just want to, they put in a lot of time and effort in reviewing everything and making sure that their input is heard. So, and they represent you as residents. So we appreciate everything that they do for us. With that, I'll turn it over to Dee, and she will present the budget and go through her presentation. And afterwards, I only had 4 questions from the residents, so I'll take care of answering those afterwards. So this is Dee Redmond, our controller.
You know how to start? No. Okay.
So what little clicky thing do I need?
Has he turned it on? There we go. You see the mouse?
Where is it? I don't see the mouse. Let's see. There it is.
It needs to go right there.
Hold on.
The screen
There we go.
Good evening, everyone. Or good afternoon. It's not even evening. I'm rushing the day, huh? I am Dee Redmond. Many of you know I've been at Springmore for 9.5 years. Some of you have visited me in the accounting office. Some of you only know me by calling me and talking on the phone. Some of you know me personally. But I present to you the 2025 budget. Just to go over what we will be reviewing today is the 2025 budget operating goals, significant changes from 2024 to 2025, our total operating revenue, how each dollar is budgeted. We will give a brief summary of the Springmore operating budget and then look at historical and current rate increases. Our operating goals have always been to be good stewards of the monies that are received here at Springmore. That is the monthly service fees that you pay each month. To be financially responsible in ensuring that we are not, that we're being careful in what we're spending to meet the needs of our residents here and to ensure that Springmore is operating with transparency. To give detailed review of all revenue sources and detailed review of all expenses. Some significant changes which have occurred from 2024 to 2025. Our operating income has increased. That is due to our strong wait lists. We don't have to worry about having many vacant units for long. Activities reimbursement, that is Pathways. They have introduced more programs and activities, which in turns we are charging the residents for those. That is increasing our revenue. Home care revenue, both internal and external. We are hoping to have our external home care up and running by the end of this year, 2024. We also are generating sales from our ABC activities that we have. That's where you guys are now able to get your wine and beer in the dining room and in the Springs. The home care internal expenses have increased. That is due to the increased staffing, which is a direct correlation to the demand of more services from the residents. Pathways costs have increased. That again is also due to more activities and programs for the resident, more of a variety for everyone to be able to participate in. Our workers' compensation has increased. That is a very large percentage. It will be 40%. That is due to things that are beyond our control, such as insurance increases just in the state of North Carolina. We were made aware of the rate increase in April of this year, which is impacting the 2024 budget, which we weren't expecting it to be that high, but also it will be impacting the 2025 budget. Our retirement fund is increasing. This is a good thing for our employees that we have here, as more employees will be enrolled in our 401k and Roth IRA program for retirement. Our reserves have increased by 7%. That includes all of the major equipment, major repairs to the buildings. One of the major things that we've had done in 2024 and will continue in 2025 are the chillers for the AC. So we are expecting for much cooler days coming 2025. It also includes our property taxes and employee health insurance. Our total personnel costs, it remains consistent as the department managers have worked diligently to ensure that overtime is being properly managed, as well as hiring qualified staff for our vacant positions that we have. There are no major changes or wage increases for any of the departments. That has been accomplished in 2023 and 2024. This next slide shows you our total operating revenue, $37,324,000, and a breakdown by the majority of those expenses, in which we have independent living, IL Living, Stewart Health Center, home care, which in turn includes internal and external, and then other income that we have coming into Springmore. This next slide is how the dollar is broken out. And if you look at here, we come up to $1. Our largest departments, which include our highest number of staff, are in the Stewart Health Center, dining services, and housekeeping. Those are areas that we will always have staff available to you to meet the needs of all of our residents. This next slide looks at the historical and current increase. So you all received notice that the increases for independent living effective October 1st of this year will be 5.25%, and for Stewart Health Center will be 5.75%. That is a great increase from last year, which it was 6.8% across the board. This last one here is our operating budget, which looks at all of our total operating income, our operating expenses, including total salaries and benefits, our total reserves, looking at our food and Sodexo contract, utilities, other line items, and then our operating expenses, which are excess over our income. I know that number there looks alarming to some of you. What that doesn't, please don't be alarmed. What that does not include is that our increase takes effect October 1st of each year. So there is revenues that we will be receiving the fourth quarter of 2025. Unfortunately, we cannot say what that is, but it will be an increase over this year. So that deficit of $209,000 will actually be covered by the increase that will take effect October 1st of 2025. One thing I would like to point out is that as of July 21st, prices are still 20.9% more expensive than they were pre-COVID. And that's with our current inflation rate of 2.9%. So Springmore, we've worked very hard. I've worked very hard meeting with the MAC and all of our top execs here to ensure that this budget was prepared properly. And that is it for my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dee. Hopefully that was clear for everyone and some additional explanation on things that you've seen before, but that's a little bit provides a clearer picture of where all the funds are allocated and how we put this budget together. At this point, we had 4 questions that were submitted to the MAC from residents that I'll take care of answering. Y'all bear with me because I didn't know I was doing this today, but we're going to do a good job and have fun. So we'll knock this. The first question was regarding home care and says home care is a fee department. It represents 4% of the 2025 budget. Please assure us that the income from home care is, 1, in balance with expenses, and secondly, home care income, or it's a question, is home care income included in the other operating income on the balance sheet that you all received in your packet with the information on the rate increase, and the same thing applying to hairstyling. So to answer the first question, our goal with both of those, hairstyling and home care, is to provide a service for residents. Our goal is not to make a massive profit. We just want to provide a service and not lose money while providing that service. So we don't budget some astronomical number for revenue. Right now, home care sits at 12.9% profit through the month of August, or I take that back, through the month of July, the August numbers. So we do make a small profit, and home care fees for 2025 were budgeted so that the care staff service fees exceed the cost by roughly 10%. So as you can tell, we're right in line with that so far this year. Hope to do the same next year. There are some administrative overhead costs that with non-revenue producing staff that kind of take some of the profit margin away from that line item. But overall, we still fall in line and make money a little bit with the home care service. External home care, as we kind of are getting that going, we do expect that it will not be profitable out the gate. We know that it's going to take some time to build up the client base, and as the client base increases, we'll be able to become profitable because we won't have to increase expenses at in the same proportion as we're getting on new cases. So we look forward to that growing and becoming profitable later in the year 2025, but to start off the year, that will probably be operating at a loss. And then to just summarize the other question, yes, both hairstyling and home care fall under, it was listed as other operating income in the balance sheet that you all received in your packet. So I think that covers question number 1. Question number 2 was sent more of a statement and not a question, but it's a good talking point. So the question was, while fees increased 5.25%, the reduced meal plan discount did not, thus yielding a 5.5% increase. Is there any explanation why the reduced meal plan was not increased proportionately other than filling a revenue gap to balance the income statement close to $0 in 2025? So I can go in detail, more personally with the person that asked that question, but just kind of a broad understanding of the reduced meal plan is that we did elect not to increase the reduced meal plan amount. We capped it at the $170 that it was last year because increasing that amount would actually obviously provide less revenue, therefore resulting in a higher rate increase for everyone across the board. Currently, we have 200 residents on the reduced meal plan, and that loss in revenue is about $408,000 every year. It would be wonderful if we could save that $400,000 somewhere, but unfortunately, when you take that reduced meal plan, we don't know if that means you're going to eat here on Monday or if you're not going to eat here on Monday. So we have to still buy the same amount of raw food. We still have to have the same amount of wait staff and kitchen cooks and all of that because we got to be prepared. If everybody shows up on Monday night to eat, we got to feed everybody. If everybody on the reduced meal plan elects to go to Outback on Monday night, we still prepared the same amount of food. And so, don't get me wrong. Dining has a good guess on about how many, they keep track of that, and we do the best we can to save and not waste food and cut, keep the staff appropriate where we can, but we have to be prepared for as many people as possible coming to the dining room. So it doesn't allow us to save costs proportionate to what we lose with that revenue. So we did cap it at 170. A couple years, we may end up having to increase it, the amount of that allowance, but at this point, we decide to cap it at 170, and we'll continue with that moving forward. So that's become a big hit, that reduced meal plan. I don't know if Dee has a number so far, but I think everybody has to turn it in within the next couple of weeks if you're going to take that meal plan. So don't forget to turn it in if you are going to do it. Question number 3, is your capital expense budget found under buildings, building improvements, and furniture, equipment, and vehicles, or do you have a separate capital expense budget? And the answer is yes, we have a separate capital expense budget and the reserves, which we fund monthly, that cover the major building and equipment improvements. The second part of that question is, what are the right-of-use assets and right-of-use liability? And Dee may be able to explain this better than I can because it was explained in the last board meeting by our CPA, and even then it still kind of takes some sinking in. And he did a really good job explaining it, but it is complicated, and it's really just an updated accounting practice and accounting standard that we have to show this on our balance sheet. But it's basically everything that we lease. So we lease the land, we lease the buildings, all of that, all the way down to the little postage machine in the business office that we lease. We have to account for all of that in our right-of-use liability. So it adds up to a big number because we got a lot of property and a big building. So when you look at that balance sheet, you see a huge, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like $60 million right-of-use liability. And then because we have the right to use those leased items, and we show that as a liability, but then the income is shown when we pay for that lease. So as we pay for it, Dee has to show where that money is going, and that's what the accountants do, and I'm not going to pretend to know how to explain that. But it's just an accounting practice, and it allows us to try to keep a balance of everything that we have here and what we use. If you have further questions on that, feel free to call Dee, and maybe she can explain it. And if not, she can call somebody that can explain it. So we can get you the answer you're looking for if you need more information. The final piece of that third question was, what large expense items for buildings are included in the proposed 2025 operating budget or capital budget? And Dee mentioned that we are getting 2 chillers for South Village. So those have already been ordered, actually, and they'll be coming in late fall or late spring of this year. And we'll go ahead and replace both chillers for Creedmoor Building and Valley Building at the same time. We'll be able to use some parts off of those to finish everything up on the chillers on the north side and get them running at 100%. And then the following year, we'll be looking at replacing the chiller on the North Village side. So we did a lot to get that correct this year, but we'll kind of finish that product, and hopefully we'll have a nice, cooler summer for everybody next year. So we're doing that. We also budgeted to paint the exterior of North Village next year because that's overdue. So that is in the budget. We have 1 elevator to be replaced, and we don't know which one yet. We're saving the money because when one breaks down, we're going to need it. So it's kind of allocated to be prepared to replace one next year. We also have 1 vehicle for maintenance, which is likely to be the trash truck because that's on its last leg. And then we always include an allowance to replace multiple in-house HVAC units. So, individual apartments, we usually allocate about 10 of those a year for common space, apartments, or houses. And then we do the same thing with water heaters and hot water tanks because we know that those go. And so we try to put money in the funds for that. So that kind of sums up the large expenses for buildings for next year. Then I just briefly wanted to read another statement from that question. The resident said, "We are often told about major expense items that will be coming, but sometimes they don't happen. It seems to me that many residents don't understand that large items are budgeted for the year, and while they are probably contingency funds, management probably can't just order large capital items if they are not in the budget. For example, I keep hearing complaints about the Creedmoor elevators that stick or don't work, yet other areas get new elevator improvements and Creedmoor does not. Could we get a broad overview of major capital expenses compared to budget so expectations are managed from a basis of information? I think management could present its story more effectively for improved resident perceptions." And I think that's great. We can be more open and more communicative and informational with you all on what we have planned. I think that's an easy thing we can do to help provide you with as much information of what we have planned. And obviously, when things break, we got to fix them. So, I can't tell you what's going to break 2 weeks from now, but I assure you, something's going to break, and we're going to have to spend some money on it. So we can plan all we want, but these things are going to happen. But if we can be more transparent with what we do have planned, and maybe that can help alleviate some questions on how we're allocating the funds. But, we did share, I think it's the first time in a while that the MAC did receive a copy of the 2024 remaining capital items and the 2025 capital items. So they were able to see those and review, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. But again, we can also try to present it to you all in a different, either in memos or kind of include it somewhere in a resident memo so that everyone's aware of what's going on. And then the final question we had, question number 4, the new meal for residents was printed. I think it should be the new meal price for residents was printed. The cost of guests was without tax. I think the total cost needs to be announced. Also, it would be helpful to know the monthly meal amount allowed per month for those who are on the reduced meal plan and those on the full monthly meal plan. So I think I got all of that, but I'm just going to try to explain what I think I was going for, and if I don't answer everything that individual was looking for, please let me know and call me, and I can expand on anything you want to know. But you are not taxed on any meals until you exceed your monthly allowance. So when you go and get your meals, nothing is taxed until you exceed the monthly allowance. So it's not necessary for us to include the tax or for you to include the tax when you're evaluating the cost of your meals. because of that, because of the number of options that we have, we also can't really tell you how many meals per month you get. It used to be, I guess, a long time ago. There's some people back here that could tell you a long time ago, but they used to do 1 meal a day was kind of the standard. But now that it's a dollar amount, because there's so many options, because if you're on the reduced meal plan, you could still eat 30 meals a day if you go and get a cheeseburger from the grill every day. So we can't equate it to meals per day. So unfortunately, there's no way to really advertise how many meals it amounts to, but it's just the dollar value. And so then also the guest meals are $23.95 this year. That'll be, so that's the $18.95, which is what you all pay, and then it's added $5 for the guests. And then I don't know if exactly if they were asking this, but if you needed to know the exact amount of your meal plan, you can always contact Brandy in the accounting office or use one of the kiosks by the post office. You can scan your badge and it'll tell you your remaining balance for the month there. So that's a good source of being able to check up on what you have there as well. So that does it for the questions that were submitted to the MAC. I hope we've kind of clarified some things for you on how the budget was put together, how the fundings, everybody worked out what they did in each department. I think the MAC did a good job reviewing. They didn't have a ton of recommendations or questions for us. So I think we did a good job. All the department heads worked long and hard on keeping this so that the rate increase was as minimal as possible. So at this time, do you want me to open it up for questions? Is that, if anyone has any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer those now. Yes, ma'am. And wait, can you wait for the microphone? Ms. Smith will bring you. Yes, ma'am. I got you.
Could you please clarify the business about doing home care on the outside? Does that mean outside of this?
Okay, yeah, you want a clarification on what external home care?
Yes.
What we're offering? Okay, yeah. So right now at this point, what we're doing with the external home care is we're offering home care to the community. We are starting with just our wait list, people on our wait list. So we're sending out flyers. About, I think every 2 weeks, they're sending out a batch of flyers to people on the wait list, explaining to them what services we offer. It's very similar to what we offer inside the community with home care, but just instead of coming to your apartment, an aide would go out to your house if you live 3 miles away, and they would meet your needs there. And again, it's home care, not home health, which is a big difference. We can't do medicines. It's just kind of a companionship, do your laundry, help with shopping, that kind of thing. It's not home nursing. They can't do any nursing. So it's just a home care aid that is able to help. And we'll start with just our wait list, then we'll expand it to probably the entire zip code, and then we'll try to grow it from there. So it's just a small group that we're focusing on right now to get started and kind of perfect what we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. If you'll wait for Ms. Smith so that everyone can hear the question.
Are the capital improvements for the Stewart Health Center included in the budget?
They are. Dee can probably explain that better than I can, but just the loan payback amount is in the operating budget, and the rest is we're drawing from a loan from the bank.
And that repayment will be eventually included in?
It is included. We started repaying April of this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was April of this year we started our repayment on the loan, and that'll continue until we finish the project. So that repayment is included in the operating budget.
Are we no longer hiring teenagers for food service?
We are still hiring teenagers. I think they've changed it to 18 and up when we can. A lot of the high school students come and go too. So now that school started back, you probably won't see as many. But they do, I think 16, I'd have to check with the dining staff, but they will hire 16 and up. But our preference is 18 just because we can keep them. Once the high school students start back, it's hard to keep them here and get a lot of productivity out of them other than a couple hours in the evening. But yeah, it is still open for 16 and up. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Miss right here, Miss Edwards.
It's still a bit confusing to me, if you're on the full meal plan, how much carries over?
Okay. Dee, do you want to explain that? She's the meal plan expert. I stay away from that.
So if you are on the regular meal plan, you carry over 1 full month worth of meals. So if you are, and I have the numbers because I knew this was going to come up. The regular meal plan, single person, you are able to carry over up to $576.40 per month. Anything over that, you would lose. Anything under that carries over. One thing I also wanted to mention, since we're talking about the meals, I know some residents are going to purchase guest meal tickets and sometimes giving them to their housekeeper as a gift to thank them for lunch. You can do that, and you will pay the price of a guest meal for that ticket. And it's capped at 5. So you can't go and buy 30 of them. Okay? Yes. Any other questions about the meal plan? You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? We must have done a great job. All right. I'll pass it back over to Mr. Bundy, and he's going to talk about the next 2 association meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Dee, for those presentations. And I, once again, want to thank all of you for coming. We've got 2 more Residents Association programs for this year. The next one will be on Dix Park. The presenter will be Nick Neptune, who is Director of Outreach and Community Engagement for the Dorothea Dix Park Conservancy. And he will be telling us about the past, the present, and also the future of Dix Park. And that meeting will be in 1 month, Monday, October the 14th at 3 o'clock in the auditorium and on 1341. The final Residents Association meeting for 2024 will be the Cardinal Singers, and they'll be here on Monday, November the 11th, and you don't want to miss either one of those 2 Residents Association meetings that are coming up. It is time now for door prizes, and we want to thank Vidya again for these. She told me recently that she had made a trip to India, and that the door prizes today come from her trip. So the 2 lucky residents today who are going to get a very special treat when they win the door prizes today. So.
The winner is blue ticket number 1. Blue ticket 1480424. 0824. One 480424. Now we can pull a red ticket. Red ticket. The red ticket number, winning number is 026826. You sure that's not her ticket? I mean, is that your ticket or his ticket?
His ticket.
Okay, thank you. Well, as Jim has already told us, our next program is October the 14th. So between now and then, enjoy the coolness of the fall weather and the beauty of the fall leaves. Look forward to seeing you in a month. Thank you for being here. Meeting is adjourned.